All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Ministry Revealed. It is August 9th, 2018. Hope everybody's having a good week. What are we, midweek, Thursday? I think we're Thursday now. Yeah, we're getting hotter and hotter up here in Calgary, which is nice, but by tomorrow it's getting really hot for us. We're expected to break every single record for heat we've ever had tomorrow, going up to 37 something degrees. So that is extremely hot for up here in Canada, out in Calgary. But I know some of you are dealing with way hotter than that, so this is a cakewalk, right? We're like Arizona up here. It's very dry, like Arizona. So we don't have that humidity that just turns you into a puddle of water. But yeah, still very hot nevertheless. So today, I wanted to go into what a few people have commented with questions about what I thought on a video with WSO. WSO did a video, a month or so ago, a little over a month ago, with this guy, Gary Parker. And this guy, Gary Parker, we'll listen just to like a little piece of it. He went and he had this crazy idea. He's a sales guy, and he had this crazy idea with big connections. He had this crazy idea that they would do a project to renovate the pyramids. And along the way, something had happened. I mean, this guy's got major connections. I think he talks about Virgin and Mark Cuban. Like, they were calling him to say, hey, what's going on with this? Because he was raising money for it. Well, sorry, give me a second here. Middle of the back itch. So what happened was he saw something, and I'll show you some of it on NASA images that just didn't look normal, and it looked like etchings. And so he went into it, and he doesn't know Hebrew or any of that stuff, know how to read it, never read his Bible. He's not a Christian. If you had heard it already, if you've already watched this, you'll understand. But these etchings, he realized he said forget about his plan to put forward this thing to renovate the pyramids because of what he had found kind of etched into the land. So it started off with him not knowing what it was, but it looked like some sort of ancient writing. So he went to a bunch of people, found what the ancient writing was, and they said, where did you get this? And he says, I didn't doctor it, I didn't do anything here. Go to NASA, see the picture for yourselves, the image of Giza, right, where the pyramids are, and you'll see it for yourself. So people did, and they looked at the carvings, and it was like an ancient language, right? I don't know if it was Hebrew or ancient Aramaic or whatever it was. Can't remember what he had said. And it had a date of July 26th, 2022. And he goes on to say that that's the year, or that's the day of their return. Now, people had asked, is this really Abba? Because he talks about Abba Father. He had went and stood in a water, and he met with Abba and spoke with him many times. And people have asked, do I think it was God? Well, of course not. Right? A lot of other people watching this video didn't think so either. Right? Steve with WSO is a Christian and had this guy on just to see what this was all about. Well, this guy goes on to talk about these visitations that he had with him and over water and these beings and all sorts of crazy things over the last 3 years since this began for him. About 3.5 years. And remember, the enemy always has to tell us the plans as well. Most people can't discern them, right? It's all over our movies and our music and, all over the place. So many people do such great revelations. Jonathan Clegg is really good at that. From Rome to movies to TV shows and commercials. I mean, that stuff is written all over the place. So I don't throw this out and just think, oh, nothing of it. Because I know God's timeline. Whether you guys believe me or not, it's a 14-year timeline that begins sometime here in 2018. And I believe it's in August. Well, I believe it's kind of already begun, to be honest, but when the real stuff will begin, I believe will be in August. But having said that, it is going to be 2018, and it goes from spring to spring. But I believe the White Horse Rider, and this stuff was revealed or started in 2017. You'll understand, those who know the count. It's all there. Let me get back to this. So that's why for him to say that he was revealed all this stuff, he wasn't looking, he's not a spiritual person, he didn't believe in any of this stuff, and then to have this guy and then this being, and he's Abba Father. There's truths in things that he speaks, but the enemy will throw in some truths along with the deception, calling himself Abba Father. He most certainly did not speak with Abba Father. There's just not a chance on God's green earth that he spoke with Abba Father. All right? That just didn't happen. However, it very well could have been the enemy, and the enemy giving him instructions to go out and tell the world, however and as often as he can, on any channel he has, big channel like Steve Olson's or smaller channel, however he can. And this guy isn't selling anything. He's got no books, no movies he's doing, nothing like that. It's to get the word out. Now, how can we, which is part of the question for myself, I guess, and maybe it's in a way you guys were asking it, some of you as well, how can we see if this guy is just a snake oil guy, or, is something really happening? Because, guys, remember, if you've watched this, he's asked, well, do you think it's God, or do you think it's like the Anunnaki, the fallen angels, right? And he says, guys, I don't know. He totally puts it out there. He's excited about it, which, knowing who he's speaking to, I wouldn't be too excited. I'd be, maybe that's why they use him, because he's neutral. He doesn't care either way. He just thinks it's exciting. But when he was asked, does he think it's God, like through Jesus, through the Bible, or does he think maybe it's the Anunnaki? He says, I really don't know. You see that? If you're speaking to Abba Father, you darn well know who you're speaking to, and you know it's the Son of God. That Jesus is his son, and so forth. But he says, I don't know. It very well could be the Anunnaki, the fallen angels. He says, I don't know. But I've spoken with them. I've seen them. They've led me into greater understanding of this, and that. And he says, listen right here. Let's listen to the date.
But so everybody who's listening, what's happening is this. What the ancient Hebrews called God is going to actually return to the city of David on July 26, 2022.
All right, hear that? Now disregard who they're calling their God, because that's where he's fooled. That's where he's deceived, because he doesn't know. See, he's deciphered a whole bunch in here. So you can see like a being there as well. But he's deciphered around here, somewhere in here, all of these I'll find it here real quick for you. These etchings that are in the land. Here you go. So there's all of these etchings. They're just naturally there, and something caught his eye. And so he brought it to these people that know the ancient texts. And this is I believe it's this one here, that shows July 22nd, 2022. Well, can we, at Ministry Revealed, can we prove biblically that who this is really talking about is the enemy? You ready? Watch this. Remember this? What the heck is this flying roll, right? This quote-unquote scroll. What is this flying roll? It gives us a size of it. Then he says here, Zechariah 5. By the way, guys, this to start off with this, what year is Zechariah 5? 2018, 2031. All right? 19, 20, 21, 22. It just so happens we have this weird flying scroll that is called the curse over the face of the earth. This whole woman in a basket, and by the way, this is interesting down here, we're going to cover that. In the chapter in Zechariah for the year 2022. And a year begins at what do I always say? In spring. So we're May, June, July, we're just 3 or so months in, and here we are in Zechariah, the year 2022, and we see what? Flying rolls with a size like this. Then said he unto me, this is the curse that goes forth over the face of the whole earth. Now, here's the thing, guys. When I've spoken about this in the past, I believe that when Satan loses his battle in heaven and is cast down to the earth, that this is where I thought this quote-unquote, well, I always say quote-unquote for alien invasion, right? I'm going to keep saying it because there's going to be new people coming and listening that are going to think I'm thinking aliens, right? But the fallen angels, that were coming, that it's going to be here. All right? And there is going to be something here. When Satan loses his battle in heaven and when he's cast down, the pit is going to be opened up. But they don't come from above. The pit gets opened up and they come from below. You see that? They come from below the ground. All right? Whereas over here, what would this equal in this time frame here? Watch this. The year 2022 is when they come from above to cover the face of the whole earth. Watch. Who's coming in 2022? This is about to take place. Here's your seals, your red, your black, your green. Then what do we have? Another wonder in heaven. This wonder in heaven shows up what? 2021, 2022? But this is in heaven still. But watch this. And his tail drew a third of the stars and did cast them to the earth. Satan is still in the heavens battling out, but cast a third of his guys down to the earth. You see that? What year are we looking at here? We're looking at about the year 2022. Because then what happens? You have the Lord coming and gathering the 144,000, which is going to be into 2023, mid-late 2023. They're going to lay the foundation for the temple, and then 2024, mid-2024, after the X that makes its way. Remember, we had that first line come across America, August 2017. The next one comes across April 8th, 2024. That's your big earthquake and so forth for the sixth seal. And then what do you have? The rapture of the church in 2024. See that? So around 2022, something's coming from above. In 2020, where are we? In 2028, 27 to 28, well, it'll be once the pit opens, then Satan has come down and the pit is opened up. See that? One is from below, one is from above. So let's go into this here. Let's look into this Zechariah and this whole flying roll, because you're going to see this is really, really interesting. This here in Zechariah 5, this is for their Muslims Mahdi. All right? This is going to take us into the Middle East. It's going to reveal to us where it's going to dwell, and it tells us who it is. Watch. See, that's why when I first heard this and I was watching this, I was like, damn, what? I mean, the guy he doesn't seem like he's nuts or anything, but I mean, that doesn't really say much for people, right? What can we prove from this? He's taken it to scholars, ancient text in Hebrew and Aramaic scholars. And they've all said, where did you get this? Is this doctored? It says way more than this, he said. There's a lot more to it. But the date it said of their return is July 26, 2022. And it just so happens in Zechariah 5, 2022, we have the flying scroll. We have to remember, see, and I'm guilty for this too. As Christians and as believers, we forget about these other religions. Right? We forget about these things that they believe, what their words are telling them. We know from through the Quran and through Allah and all what the Muslims believe, that their Mahdi, their Savior, who is our Antichrist, right? They're saying that their Savior is coming. And when he comes, I believe they even think he's the Christ, right? That's the Antichrist. We always have to remember, guys, there are three players. Antichrist. Okay, we got false prophet, of course. But the Antichrist is what? Antichrist. Against Christ. Now, anybody who's not with Christ is against Christ and is a form of Antichrist. But there is going to be the Antichrist as well. All right? Now, the Antichrist will be a man on earth, but it would appear that once these guys arrive and he's got his power now, maybe this is just around the time, maybe slightly before when he gets his time to continue 42 months when his guys arrive, right? When he's got power now to continue, right? This is something that people miss all the time when it comes to the Antichrist in Revelation 13. See, he already has power, right? He has power, his seat and his authority, as one of his heads was wounded because of the war that had broken out. And then what happens? He is given power, here, right here, verse 5. And then he's given, power was given unto him, to continue 42 months. Continue 42 months. So see, everybody, I don't like saying everybody, but when most people look at 42 months, 1,260 days, and time and times and half a time, they think two of them combine to be the same thing. Oh, 42 months is 3.5 years. 1,260 is 3.5 years. Time and times and half a time is 3.5 years. So one means this, it's its own, and the other two are part of the same thing. All right, there's your 7 years. You have to account for your 7 years somewhere, right? For those that only believe in 7 years, that don't understand that it's 14. So you say, okay, well, there's your 7 years. Right? 42 and 1260, they're really combined to be the same thing. And then the time and times one is the second 3.5 years. Well, what about the first part? Because he has power to continue for 42 months. Meaning, he had power before. See all this? What is this? What is this part here? Red Horse Rider stuff. War. Right? War was made. There was war everywhere. That's how he got wounded. And then he gets healed, and he's got power given to him 42 months more. See? Now you're over 7 years. How do you account for that? Because it's not 7 years. I know those of you who follow for a while get it, right? So, when, where were we? Let's go, this is Zechariah. So, when we look at this, see, and it's going to cover the whole earth. What's going to cover the whole earth? Is this, you know, I was one that thought maybe this was referring to nukes. But no, I mean, we're here in 2022. I think the nukes are coming way before that. I think they're going to see nukes in maybe later this year into 2019 when the Antichrist has power. You got to remember, look at what the Lord says here. Is it here? No. In 2025, when the Lord returns to Mount Zion, not the Mount of Olives, when he returns to Mount Zion, okay, with the 144,000 and trumpets are about to begin. You know, where can we prove this? Again, let's go to Revelation 14. Look, I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on Mount Zion with the 144,000. And what starts? The trumpets will start. All right? So what does he say here in 2025, the last 7 years? See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to 2031. 25 to 31. So let's see, what does he say? Watch this. They're going to come, and people are going to come from around the world, and they're going to be building the house. They're going to be rebuilding the city and the streets, like Daniel 9 said, for 3.5 years before Jesus cuts himself off. All right? And listen to what it says, okay? Which were in the day that the foundation of the house of the Lord of hosts was laid, that the temple might be built. Right? Because this is 2025. The foundation by the 144,000 was already laid, and these people that are here now ready to build the street and the city and the temple and everything, the 144,000 had to go out and gather them in 2024. You see that? Now they're there and they're building it, and now from 2025 going forward, those 144,000 are out preaching all over the world. You know, they're healing people and everything. And then in the last 3.5 years, mid of 2028, they get power from Jesus. And it's like Luke 10 says, they've come back, and now they're given greater power to step on serpents and scorpions. And that's when the pit opens up. They get this special power. The power of God is now given to them. Just like you see in John 14, when they get the power of the Lord, that's when they're going to go for their first 3.5 years. And then when they come back to the Lord, with 3.5 years left to go, when Satan is released, the Lord is leaving. And they're going to be here doing all sorts of crazy things, raising people from the dead, and everything Jesus did multiplied. Even greater, he said, is what these guys are going to be able to do from this point forward. But they went out in 2025. They're already gone out, and that's why you see the foundation is already built. But listen to what it says. Next verse. For before these days here, so we're in 2025. Before these days, so 24 all the way back to, some point starting in 18, there was no hire for man, nor hire for beast, neither was there any peace. Why was there no peace? Because the red horse rider, Revelation 13, that first portion of time when he gets his power and his authority, that is the red horse rider when he is given his power and authority, and peace is taken from the earth. See that? To him that went out and came in because of the affliction. Look at that. The Lord says, for I set every man against his neighbor. Well, where did the affliction begin? Where did peace get taken away? In 2018. Zechariah 1. Right? I was very sore displeased once they have that peace agreement come out. For I was a little displeased, and they helped forward, what? The affliction. Every man set against man. War breaks out. Red horse rider, the seal has been broken. The tribulation of the tribulation. It is going to be in 2018. All these other things have taken place. We're waiting on this deal to come out. And what happens is there's no peace during this time. See that? No peace. Which is why we find him here in 2025 saying, look, I couldn't hire anybody. I couldn't have anybody come and help me build the temple and the city and the streets because there was nobody for hire. There was no peace because it was tribulation time. Okay? So when we're looking at this here, let's go back. Where are we? Look, 2025, 24, 23, 22. All right? So about 2.5 years, we go into this here. See, with my chart here, I flip these guys back and forth a lot. this Elijah spirit, white horse rider, and the bride. Does the bride go first, and then the Elijah? Is the Elijah first? I believe the white horse rider goes before the bride is taken. All right? So the bride, the 10% of the church, goes just after the white horse rider. I believe the white horse rider is here, may know who he is, and the red horse rider is here, and I believe may know who he is. Have they been revealed and released yet? No. Right? Does that mean have the seals actually broken in heaven yet? I don't think so. Because the red horse rider is now here as of the end of January 2018. Just like Zechariah tells us. Right? It was in the 70th year for them returning. We're in the 70th year. Right? Go to Psalms 90 and 10 for those that are new. That is such a revelation, that Psalms 90 and 10, when it's understood. Right? But it can't be broken, in my opinion, it can't be broken yet, because he's not revealed and war hasn't broken out. Right? The Elijah white horse rider, if it's the Elijah spirit, I call it the Elijah spirit or white horse rider, maybe the seal hasn't been broken yet because he hasn't been revealed yet. See what I'm saying? But they're both here. They haven't been revealed yet. This will get revealed first. He will get revealed next. And that will begin the wars. All right? The wars are going to break out, and it'll break out. Whoever comes over the radio waves next is probably going to be your red horse rider. All right? Some think it's Obama. Some think it's others. To be honest, I just really don't know. I kept saying that with Obama being so obvious. Is it possible it's not Obama because he's just so obvious? I don't know. I say no, but man, I flip-flop on these guys. Why do I flip-flop? Because we don't know. We're just trying to give people a heads up. Right? We're trying to give some insight. Now, as to what is being taught here on this channel from the scriptures, that's another story. We know this because we back it all with scripture. As to who the characters specifically are here on earth, that's a different story. All right? So, let's go a little bit further. Here we are in 2022, and this was so interesting, guys, just so interesting. So let's look at this a little bit further. Remember, I said it's going to take us into the Middle East. It's going to show us where the ephah is going to go. Now, here's another question I have that ties in with this. Let's just pause and think on this for a second. America is definitely going to go into war and into battle right off the bat, but isn't going to be completely destroyed right away. And there are many quote-unquote prophets, we'll see, that say that Trump is going to win 2 terms. I believe Trump is going to win 2 terms. I believe there's a reason why the Bible says that the last trump and the trumpet shall sound. Because we know the end when Trump wins his 2nd term. And if Trump is Darius as well, and he wins that 2nd term, it brings us to 2024. The end of the time of the Gentiles. The end of the church. The rapture of the church. And the blowing of the trumpets. You see that? By somebody called Trump. I mean, guys, it's one of those things we try to complicate it sometimes because it's just so blatantly obvious. Right? And because is it possible that he made it that obvious in our language? Right? From something thousands of years. But, it's what it says. So here's what I'm getting at. If Trump is here and he's the good guy, right? We don't know what's really going on behind the scenes. And if you watch Lance Wallnau and some of these other guys that are really connected and they're strong Christian believers and they know what's going on in a lot of cases behind the scenes, Trump is doing some crazy good things back there. We just don't always see it because why? Everybody's watching the media. What do you expect? And now they're starting to shut down channels that were speaking truth or, trying to get as much truth out there as they could and make people think. Right? So if Trump does get elected and he stays, but Trump isn't the Antichrist, Now, he might be. He's doing a lot of good things. Maybe he's fooling the Christians. I don't know. But pay attention to this, because it leads into what we're getting at with this here. Is that if Trump isn't the Antichrist, and he is potentially the spirit of the white horse rider, right? John the Baptist didn't know he was. Elijah himself, were all these guys perfect? No. Was King David perfect? Of course not. Right? Look what King David did. Kind of like a Trump, right? In that sense. But you know what I mean? It's, I don't know. Trump fits the bill, but let me just say it like this. When you see where this is going with who gets brought where, relating back to the Middle East. If America isn't completely destroyed during the war, and Trump wins the second election, and these other things are taking place in the Middle East, because like I said, we have to remember, though the Muslims and the rest of the world that believe different things, what do they have in their teachings that are false teachings? Remember, Satan's always going to put some truth in, because he knows the timing. He wants to prepare them for when he's coming, so they'll worship him. Right? And Satan's guy. Remember, if that's what I was saying earlier, if Antichrist is against Christ and against Christ's people, which are the Christians, well, what about Satan? Is Satan trying to be greater than Christ? No. Satan is trying to be greater than God. You see that? Christians, Antichrist, false prophet, Satan against God's people, Judah. Which is why, when you understand the 14 years, the trumpets is the time for Judah, and the second half is when Satan comes, right, at the fifth trumpet. Okay? But when we look at this here, is Trump going to remain the whole time, and he's trying to do things for the better and allowing faith and so forth, Christianity in the West and in America to continue, while the Antichrist is actually set up, ruling, and then reigns out of the Middle East? Guys, that's a possibility too. And it could still tie into both guys, Trump and Obama. Obama maybe gets power somehow, if he comes back somehow, and he gets power over in the Middle East. Right? There's something there that could happen, where they both stay, one is the white and one is the red. It's very, very possible. Watch this. Look at where this flying roll comes from. Right? This ephod, not where it comes from, but where it goes. It says, "Then he said unto me, this is the curse that goes over the face of the whole earth." Watch the word curse, guys. Allah. I touched on this in a video a while ago. Allah. The curse that goes over the face of the whole earth is Allah. And here's the root word of it. Allah. Right? Allah. Look, that is a curse to swear, meaning it's a curse, but it's in swearing your allegiance to this person. All right? And how? In a bad sense. And you see this shows up 7 times. Where does this show up 7 times? Okay, we won't go into these over here. Let's look at these. Look, Hosea 4 and Hosea 10. What? 1 year? Remember, Hosea is like Zechariah. So 1 year before they come down from heaven, 1 year before Satan is released from the pit. Watch. Let's have a look at this, and then we're going to go down a little bit further and look at some stuff. Okay, so the word curse that goes over the face of the whole earth means Allah. And the Muslims are looking for their Mahdi, their Christ, their our Antichrist, their Christ. All right? He's going to be given power, and then he's going to be given power to continue, and that's when he's going to be set. These guys coming down, this curse, these flying scrolls coming down, Is it the Antichrist? No, the Antichrist will already be here. It's like his guys here to back him. There's something going on with these guys coming down from heaven. This quote-unquote alien invasion coming down. That's what this is. It's the alien invasion coming down. Again, quote-unquote alien invasion coming down. As crazy as that sounds to us Christians, it's what's coming. And it's going to be the deception that Jesus said will go out across the face of the whole earth. All right? So let's see where this shows up. And you guys know I always love to talk about my favorite eSword program. Get this program. That's how you can find these words and find what they mean and where they come from and root words of them and really multiply your understanding, all right? It's called eSword. So let's now go into Hosea. And what do we know about Zechariah and Hosea? They're the only two books in the Old Testament with 14 chapters. When I realized that a couple months ago, I went in and started studying them and realized that they reveal the last 14 years of the tribulation. Zechariah, I always talk about this. Zechariah gives us when. When. Here's your January 31st. Here's your 70th year in May. What's next? Peace deal, beginning of tribulation. Boom. 2018. What does Hosea start off with? 2018. Lord tells Yeshua, Hosea, Jesus, go get your wife a whoredom. We talked about that in the last video. 2018 as well. Zechariah, however, gives us how it's going to begin, what we're looking for to start that year, to let us know what year it's going to be, all right? That's why we're now on the edge of our seat, on our toes, waiting for this announcement. All right? We know that's what we're waiting on. It doesn't really matter what date we're trying to pick and figure out. We're waiting for that to be released. All right? Spring to spring is a year. So now let's go to Hosea 4, because we saw that the word here, swearing, which is the same word that we saw, which was a curse, right? Curse, swearing. It has a different, some different applications to it, right? Some different words for it. Swear, curse, right? See, as in to swear an oath, to curse, right? To curse even with an oath. So watch this. Let's go. We're in Hosea 4, verse 2. Let's start in verse 1. For the children of Israel, for the Lord has controversy with the inhabitants of the land, because there is no mercy nor knowledge of God in the land. By swearing, there it is, Allah, and lying and killing and stealing and committing adultery, they break out and blood touches blood, right? Bloodshed. What's going on here in the year 2021? We already know what's going on here in the year 2021. 18, 19, 20, 21, right? In this time frame, what happens? Power to continue and the time of the killing of Christians, right? I always say give or take 2 or 3 months. We don't know the exact dates of these things, but we definitely know the years. Beheadings, killings of the Christians. Who's going to do it? Muslims. It's going to be the beheadings of Christians. Who's already doing it? Who's been doing it forever? Well, Rome as well, but, through those Middle Eastern nations that don't believe in the one true God and our Lord Jesus Christ. By the way, don't discount them, because they will. Many of them will come to believe. All right? Let's see here. Therefore shall the land mourn, and everyone that dwelleth shall languish. They're going to mourn. Let's see, where are the other things I want to get at? People are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. This, guys, this is a big deal right here. Destroyed for a lack of knowledge. In this case here, in the year 2021, that's because a lot of the Bibles and everything are going to be burnt. Websites are going to be shut down. All of them are going to be shut down. Anything relating to the Lord. And there's no 144,000 till 2024. Right? Why? Because Judah doesn't know the New Testament. They don't know the Jesus as they're supposed to. So that's why they get the 144,000. Lot within the church are going to start to wake up during the seals. And as they wake up, they're going to be the ones out there preaching. All right? Realizing what has happened. So, destroy for lack of knowledge. That's what's been happening for a long time. People take everything at face value instead of going to the scriptures for themselves. Yes, you learn from people. You learn from teachers and pastors and so forth, but you listen to what they say, just like I say here, and go to the word yourself to see that these things are true. All right? This gets really bad. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will reject you. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law, this is love your neighbor as yourself. In our case, yes, it's in Hosea, but this is the law. Speaking to Christians, we're in Hosea, it's to the Gentiles, in relation to end time understanding, okay? The law of thy God, I will also forget your children. All right? You guys can go on and read this for yourselves some more, but there's something else I want to speak to. See, look it down here. This is how we know this is in the Gentile, the Israel, meaning not just Gentiles, but Israel, the tribes that they say were lost, right? That's who we're talking about. It's the trees mixed together, right? I will punish your daughters when I will not punish your daughters when they commit whoredom, nor your spouses when they commit adultery. Who is that? Right? It's the rest of the church. Remember, the bride in Hosea 1 is also a whore, adulterer, right? We covered that in the last video. This is the rest of them. This is the rest of the church that's still here on earth. That's who Hosea is speaking to. You know, church, Gentiles, however you want to look at it. And it goes right through to the end to 2031 because there's always a little corners and gleaning that's left. Just like a harvest field. You take the 10% out first, give it to the Lord. Then you have the main harvest. But you can't take everything. You got to leave the stuff that falls and leave the corners. Which is why there's some left till the end. All right? So this is how you can tell who they are. The whoredom and adulterers and so forth. Though Israel see, and this again, here's how you know who it's speaking to. Though thou Israel play the harlot, let not Judah offend. All right? For Israel slideth back as a backsliding heifer. Watch. Now the Lord will feed them as a lamb in a large place. Again, here we have a large place. Guys, does this ring a bell? Never mind just large place, but here we are in the year 2021, midway point of the first seals. Guys, you're going to love where this is going. In the first seal, not in the first seal, in the seals, we're at the midway point of the seals. We know at the beginning of the seals, the bride is first set in a large place, just like we read in Psalms, right? Where does the bride go? When we go to Psalms 18, which is 2018, so is 118. When the Lord saves us, what does he do? He sets us in a large place. He delivers us. Now, am I saying that that's where these guys are going to the same large place? No, we get set off into a different large place, but it's the same idea because watch where this is. Now the Lord will feed them as a lamb in a large place. Feed them as a lamb in a large place. Remember, I like this. One sister said this and she didn't realize that what the Lord was telling her. She wasn't able to discern, and maybe you guys have watched her videos. I don't remember her name. But she said how everything began for her was the Lord told her everything happens twice. She had no idea what it meant. She wasn't watching YouTube videos. She didn't know there was people online talking about this stuff. Why does it say everything happens twice? Why did the Lord tell her that? And I know it was the Lord because I understand what it means. It's because there are 7 years of seals, 7 years of trumpets. It's going to happen to the church and it's going to happen to Judah. All right? It's going to happen to the church / Israel. It's going to happen to Judah. But it will affect the whole world simultaneously, but with a focus on each group in their time. All right? And here's what I'm getting at with this. What does that mean for what we're talking about here in Hosea? You guys know where I'm going. You guys are smart, right? You guys totally get it. Other channels have been speaking about it, trying to figure out where it is. Boom. This is where it is. The abomination of desolation standing where it ought not. This one here, that's why it's spoken of slightly different than Matthew's, where Matthew's it says what? Standing in the holy place. Standing in the holy place. Right? People are going to have to flee. So when they flee, and we have Matthew's group here, which is a different flee. They have a flee, but it's what? Watch, where are we here? Standing in the holy place. Why? Because this is when Satan comes. When he stands, when he sets himself up in the holy place. Not the Antichrist. This is Satan. This is to Matthew, to Judah. Satan wants to be above God, like God, right? The Antichrist is coming to put himself instead of Christ, not God. All right? Satan wants God out of there and wants his position. Because Satan's an idiot and just doesn't get that it can't happen. Right? So what we're looking at here is that time, is that time of Mark. Look at how it fits. That's what, as soon as I read it, I was like, what? And you have what? 22, 23, 24. In the middle of it. In Matthew, when it comes to Zechariah, in the last 7 years, when does it happen? Right in the middle of it. Well, I'm in the wrong one here. Right? Where does it happen? Boom. Right here. The forest of the vintage that has come down, and Jesus is going to what? Cut asunder and break the covenant that he made. You see that? This is what Jonathan Kahn didn't understand in the last video when we were talking about it. It is Christ who makes the covenant, like we talked about in the last video also. And it's him that's going to break off that covenant. And he's going to come back in that final year, whoop Satan, get him out of there. And then he's going to confirm that covenant that he made and that he broke when he left because Satan was coming. See that? When? 3.5 years to go. So that's why we see in Hosea, who is to the church, we see it where? Here? 1, 2, 3.5 years in. 3.5 years in. And here we have the Lord setting up Israel to feed them in a large place. It's awesome. Watch. Let's go. Now let's continue with this swearing. All right? I haven't forgotten about that. Where do you have this happen? This is 2021. What's going to happen in 2021? 2021 is our Revelation 12, when they're going to take off and flee because they see this standing where it ought not. It's because this is going to be visible somehow in the heavens. This is going to suddenly appear and people are going to freak out. That's the time when they need to flee. All right? This is Antichrist's guys coming to help them out, to make war. Because who's coming in 2024 and set up in 2025? Christ is on Mount Zion. How is that going to look? We don't know. How is him beating all these guys? Just like we read in those extra books like 2nd Esdra. Right? Esdra 4 they call it, or 2nd Esdras. We covered it here a couple times. What happens? They come and they surround them. Right? They surround Israel because of whatever this is. They're in fear. They're panicking. But they stop all of their fighting amongst themselves, which was happening during seals, and now they're coming to fight against the Lamb. All right? That takes us through the seals portion. Now, when we looked at that, it says Hosea 4, that word, but then we also see what? Hosea 10. And what do you have? He'll break down the altars and the images. For now they shall say, we have no king. Right? They're about to say, we have no king. Keep watching. Because we feared not the Lord. They have spoken words, swearing falsely in making a covenant. Where are we? In the year 2027. When was the covenant made? Right in here. This covenant is made. Right before it gets broken in 11, which is 2028, with 3.5 years to go. See, he's saying they're sworn falsely by the covenant. So thus, judgment is going to spring up as a hemlock in the furrows of the field. What do we know? Allah, right? The covenant was not kept that the Lord had. So what's the Lord going to do? He's going to let judgment come. And what's the perfect timing for letting the judgment come? Because in 2028, well, we'd have to go into Zechariah. In 2028, I just showed you, we know that that's the time when Satan has lost his battle in heaven and he is cast down to the earth with 3.5 years left, going after them in Judah, right? Going after Judah. And there's 3.5 years left. This brings us right back into Daniel 9 that we've covered a number of times. But now, look at what it says. Let's continue here in Hosea 10. See, he hasn't cut himself off yet. He's about to. Watch. Thus judgment springeth up as hemlock in the furrows of the field? What the heck does this mean? Like poppies, poison, venom? How about that? We know we're looking at Allah, Middle Eastern. Allah, poppy, poison, venom, right? Satan's coming. But the Antichrist is here first, right? The first beast. Who's the first beast? First beast is, what does he have? He's a venomous animal. All right? He's a venomous animal. And here we have hemlock from the poppy, which is poison like venom. What is the poppy? The poppy is heroin, right? Like poppies in a field. Who's the biggest producer of poppies, or who grows the most poppies in the world? Middle East, Afghanistan. In the land of Allah. The world's leading illicit opium producer since 1992. Here it is, look. Military's there going through the fields. Yeah, now it's probably CIA run, right? But this is the largest quantity in the world of poppy. And the poison venom of the beast that was set up there. Because who gets set up there first? Remember, we were saying if it's Trump and Obama, and Trump is still in America till 2024, and then maybe he gets raptured as well, which would make sense if he is a believer, not having been found worthy, because the Lord is also using him for a job here as well. And let's just say Let's just say Obama is the Antichrist. Where would he be set up? Well, he is venom. The Antichrist is the poison and venom. In the land of the poppy, not necessarily in Afghanistan is not what I'm saying, but in that land, in the land of Allah, well, when did he get there? How is this possible? What's he doing there? Right? In the land of Assyria, of the Assyrian. Watch. Watch this. Let's go to Zechariah 5, where we started. And let's continue through this. Right? There's our curse over the whole earth. That's the Antichrist and his power to continue. That is the angels, or, the quote-unquote aliens. Right? This is wickedness. And then it talks about this ephod. He opened up the lead lid. This is why many of us thought that, maybe this is talking about nuclear weapons. Right? Opened up the lid, and there was a woman. Then he closed it, and then I lifted up my eyes, and 2 women came out. Right? These are going to be ships, guys. Watch this. Then said I to the angel that talked with me, where are these bringing, carrying the ephah? And this angel that had spoken to him said, to build it a house in the land of Shinar. And it shall be established and set there upon her own base. What? If this is a nuke, and talking about nukes, this says going over the face of the whole earth. This is the curse, and it's Allah, and whatever this is, in the year 2022, remember that Parker guy, they're bringing this thing in 2022 to Shinar to set it up and establish it on her own base. We're going to look at who Shinar is. Does it maybe tie in with this? And the woman fled into the wilderness? This is the enemy woman. I've done a video on this a long time ago, and occasionally I touch on it. This woman is, we would say, Rome, right? Those leaders working with the Muslims, right? Rome with Allah through them, working together. False prophet, Antichrist, get it? False prophet, Rome, Antichrist, through Allah. They get their quote-unquote savior that they were waiting for, thinking it's their guy and it's the Antichrist. And what do? They set up a place for it. For her. And where do they set up the place for her? When it comes in 2022, they set it up in Shinar. You ever wonder where Shinar was? Watch this. Shinar is right here. Iraq, Syria, Turkey, Iran, and Shinar is what? Between the Euphrates and the Tigris, the ancient land of Shinar. In the middle of the Middle East, see where Babylon was? Are we sure that Babylon is New York? I mean, that great city? Maybe it has something to do with that. Guys, this is where we jump around until these things happen. We're trying to put this stuff together. We know what the scriptures are saying. I can give you the proof with the scriptures. We're just trying to figure out where they are exactly on earth. Some say Rome, some say America. If you're in Russia, they'll say somewhere in Russia. If you're in Africa, they'll tell you somewhere in Africa. See what I'm saying? Where is it going to be? Some people believe a revived Babylon in this land here, which is what Zechariah tells us. When this arrives, when these things arrive, as this guy is telling us from conversations and from what this is showing etched into the earth thousands of years ago, and it says the year 2022, and it just so happens 2022 for Zechariah is when we have the flying roll, which is the curse, which is who the Muslims are waiting for, Allah, the curse over the face of the whole earth, and the woman, whoever this woman character, however that's going to be, is going to be set up in Shinar, which is smack dab in the Middle East between the two lakes, between the two rivers. Guys, the timing is perfect. We had better be ready to go. No slip sliding now. Now is not the time to be sliding around. Right? Is that even what Hosea was saying? It's later on in Hosea, right? But, you know, it's no time to be playing around. We're at that time. Look what happens at the end here of 2027. Right? When it said he's going to cut himself off. See? Thus judgment shall spring up. Where is it going to spring up from? The Middle East. When Satan pops up and shows up back there, where the Antichrist had set things up, in Shinar. And when is he going to show up? Right here. When is the pit going to open up? Right here. 2028. And here we are in 2027. And he's saying, thus judgment shall spring up. Right? Shoot up. Which is exactly what's going to happen when the pit opens. And all that locust-type creatures, whatever those are, come out. See, thus judgment is going to come. And look at what he says. Look at how it ends down here. Therefore shall a tumult arise among thy people, and all thy fortresses shall be spoiled, as the king of Assyria spoiled the house of God's ambush, God's house. When did this happen? 2018. That's when it happened. Right? And this battle here, see, you can read these things for yourself. It's dashing to pieces and so forth, right? So shall Bethel do unto you because of your great wickedness. And then watch, right? Colon. In a morning shall the king of Israel be utterly cut off. When? 2028. The king of Israel, Yeshua, the king, is going to be cut off. Daniel 9:26. When? In the morning, and we're in the very last verse of 2027. The next verse, 2028, he's going to cut himself off with what? 3.5 years to go. Just like Daniel 9 was saying. Daniel 9. 7 years, 3.5 years, 10.5 years total. 7 years of seals. I had nobody to work, remember? Nobody to hire, nobody to help build the city and the streets again. Because there was tribulation. I set every neighbor against himself, so on and so forth. Which is why he had nobody to restore and rebuild Jerusalem until the year 2025. See that? 3.5 years they're going to be building the city and the streets during even in troublous times. And then Messiah, who is the one here building it, see, they're rebuilding it unto Messiah. Look, they're going to build it unto Messiah the Prince, capital M, capital P. Why on earth would Jerusalem build to Jesus Christ, their Messiah, if they didn't believe him and he wasn't there? He's going to appear somehow. The 144,000 are going to be bringing people. Those that say they are Jews and are not are the synagogue of Satan. They're going to come and sit before the feet of the 144,000 saying, take us with you. We heard that you know the Messiah, that you can bring us to him. Seals. Nobody to help me build. 3.5 years of trumpets. I'm going to return at the beginning of those 3.5 years. All right? I'm going to return after those 7 of seals. And for 3.5, we're going to be rebuilding the city and the streets. And then I'm going to cut myself off because Satan is coming. When? 2028. Just like I told you in Hosea at the end of it. Just like I told you in Psalms 90 and 10. I love that one. I can go to that one every day, all day, and just show people and spend my days showing people the understanding over and over and over again. 70 years to 80 years. Between those 10 years, you're going to need strength. It's going to be by strength, and your strength is going to be labor and sorrow. It's going to be tribulation. And then soon, so you have what? 70 to 80, 10 years. 7 and 3, and then you have a soon, which is a short amount of time, which is, I believe, a 6-month approximate time frame, which gives you 10.5 years like we just covered. And then what? Jesus cuts himself off. 2028. Revelation 12:14. Last 3.5 years, what do? They fly away into the wilderness. Guys, do you see that? This is when Satan stands right here. Jesus cuts himself off. They fly into the wilderness for the last 3.5 years. Satan now standing in the holy place. 3.5 years into trumpets. What do we have in Hosea? We have 3.5 years, and we have the Lord now telling them he's going to feed them and take them into a large place. Why? Because the Antichrist is coming. They're seeing this in the heavens coming. And they're going to flee from their rooftops. All right, guys, there's so much. I don't want to keep rambling on because I know I'm good at doing that. But, oh man, there's so many things I'd like to keep going on and to cover, but I know the time's getting a little bit late. You guys can go choose to listen to this or not. But this guy has been going around all over the place for the last while now, 3 years or so. And I believe absolutely we can prove that this guy is not hearing from the Lord and from the angels of the Lord. He is hearing from Satan, from Satan's minions, Satan's helpers, and maybe even Satan himself. But he is listening and hearing the wrong guy. He acknowledges that it may be, he doesn't know, but he knows they're speaking Abba Father, so he thinks it's the good guy. But he admits that he doesn't know. And we're able to show right here, right now, that 2022 is the year that Zechariah himself tells us there's a flying scroll coming, a flying roll, and it's the curse that goes over the whole earth. It's the Allah over the whole earth. It's their Mahdi over the whole earth. It's what Jesus said. It's the deception that's going to take them. Because why? Because people aren't reading the scriptures for themselves. They're not watching and learning. They're not, in his word and praying and repentant. Right? We need to get to him. This is how we get to him. Yes, you listen to people like me as well. This doesn't come from anywhere. It's the Spirit of the Lord working through me. There's no question about it. I couldn't figure this out if my life depended on it. All right? You guys know that. I tell you that all the time. Please keep watching. Please keep sharing. Go to the scriptures for yourselves and pray and ask and follow where I'm leading you with this, and go into these scriptures and look into these words for yourselves and see that what I'm telling you is true. If you have questions, send a comment, send an email. And don't forget, please continue to support the ministry. So I just sent out some more. Rabbi Jonathan Kahn is getting USB now. The Graham family, Ann Lotz, I sent her one, and we sent others out here yesterday as well, a number of them out. Right? Because you guys are supporting the ministry. Please continue to support the ministry, and we will continue for however much time we have left to get these USBs out with these teachings to wake those in the church up that they can come to the understanding by going to what is revealed to them in those USBs for themselves and seeing that what is taught there is true. All right, guys? And you can do that by just going to the link in the description of this video, or going to the About Us and finding the PayPal link there, or sending something to us in the mail if you'd like, all right? And as always, we want your prayers, and I need your prayers, all right, guys? And we're praying for you as well. I love you. God bless you. And I hope this answers a number of your questions. Bye now.